Well, today we are continuing our conversation on civil discourse. It began last May when we took you inside a meeting hosted by a local chapter of a national nonprofit called Braver Angels. And their goal through their Red Blue workshops is to bring together both sides of the political aisle to see if, or to show them how, to find common ground. Something that seems to have turned into quicksand on social media lately. We wanted to see what happens when the group setting discussion is pared down to a one-on-one conversation. And 2 weeks ago, we listened in on a back and forth about immigration. This time, the hot button issue of abortion and reproductive health care rights as examined by two women. One, a self-proclaimed moderate, the other, a conservative.
My name is Emily.
My name is Janice.
And I lean to the right politically.
I tend to lean fiscally conservative and socially liberal.
How long have you lived in Idaho?
I've lived in Idaho my whole adult life.
I've lived in Idaho for 16 years.
You are going to be discussing abortion today.
Yes.
I think about it more as reproductive health.
I consider myself passionately pro-life.
It is up to the individual person to decide what is in their best interests.
I definitely believe in the sanctity of all life.
Consulting with their family and whoever else is in their circle of trust.
And believe it's important to stand up for the voiceless.
And why do you think your side's values and policies are good for the country?
I'm not sure there is a right one policy. I think there are layers of decisions that come into play when we're talking about reproductive rights and reproductive health. And I think about health care, and I think about access to health care. I think about access to resources. I think about the care of a life after it's been brought into the world. Who takes care of it? If there's someone who can't, you know, where it puts a family or a mother or the child in life. A lot of things go into that. And the risks of delivering a baby. I mean, it's risky. And I think we overlook that in a lot of the things that when we're looking at something as big as reproductive rights and reproductive health and abortion. Access to abortion is critical to life. So I see both sides of it. And I see families who have to bring a baby to term and they know it's only going to live a couple of hours. That's a hard decision to make.
The pro-life position, you know, it is one of the beauty of life, and it is complicated. You know, when there is a crisis pregnancy, I think we all agree that we need to work to get rid of the crisis and not the pregnancy. Compassion calls us to walk with people, to enter into the suffering. So when there's these difficult situations, then we want to get rid of the suffering. And so instead of getting rid of the suffering by getting rid of a human being and ending a life, intentionally ending a life, which then has lots of negative impacts at times, emotionally for the woman, even physically, abortions are not that safe. I know a lot of people don't think the government should tell women what to do, but the government is there to protect vulnerable people, and the unborn is that vulnerable population.
So let's open that up then to what you heard, what you learned, and perhaps if there's anything you saw in common.
Well, I think definitely there is a passion to help women, and that's what we have in common. Help women, help families, but how we go about that, is it a government policy or is it a personal policy, or, you know, how do you go about that? That is the most difficult aspect of, you know, force people to have children they don't want, but when a child exists, they have a right to life.
Again, going back to taking care of people and taking care of community is a really important thing to focus on. Having community support is important, but there's a lot of stigma in the community about seeking that support. You know, what are the requirements? You know, is it without judgment, or are there, you know, commitments and aspects of the support that have to be there? And then I think we have to acknowledge that in a lot of our communities, there are not supports to help. And then I think the government policies related to health care then and the impacts that it has on some of the other things in our communities are really important to consider when we talk about policy. You know, we are losing doctors in our community. In Idaho and in the Treasure Valley, we do not have enough providers to take care of even some of the basic needs. So then when we add policies that penalize healthcare providers, people who, like you, are trying to help and do good things every day, but now we have laws in place that force them to leave our communities and go somewhere else, that's a challenge.
I think she's right. There's a lot of stigma surrounding, of course, an unplanned pregnancy, but there's also a lot of stigma around like placing a baby for adoption. So it's very sad that people, women, couples would rather choose abortion than adoption because there's such a stigma around adoption. And I think adoption is very expensive. And there's so many couples, I mean, 1 in 8 couples that struggle with infertility. And I think there are ways that we can help each other if we can help promote adoption, make adoption easier, and just make it attractive to women who are in unplanned pregnancies, because everything they see makes it sound like it's going to be terrible. And so even using the word to give up a baby, I mean, we should get away from that. I mean, you're placing a baby for adoption, and that's one of life's greatest gifts. It's definitely a divisive issue. We both have this passion, passion for the unborn, passion for women, passion for, seeing our country thrive. And we don't want to see these passions be an angry conflict that's going to actually tear us apart instead of bring us together.
I think that that's well said. I think what we can do and the common ground that we can find is creating an environment where we can talk about the issues in a very friendly and inviting and engaging way, and help people find solutions that fit them.
In less than a week, abortion rights initiatives will be decided in 10 states. Idaho is not one of them, at least not yet. There has been a petition filed with Idaho's Secretary of State to start the process of getting one on the ballot for 2026 to restore abortion rights in the Gem State. Those went away in August of 2022 after the Dobbs decision by the U.S. Supreme Court returned that decision-making power to the states, triggering Idaho's near-total abortion ban. Braver Angels are always looking for volunteers to participate in one of their group session discussions. If you are interested, we will have a link to their website in this story and in the stories we've done already on our website at ktvb.com.